So Maggie, are we at an important point here? Assuming tomorrow is going to be the day for the iPhone from Verizon, what does that mean for the public? What does it mean for the iPhone?
Well, it's huge news. This is a big step for consumers, really, because now consumers have a choice, either AT&T or Verizon for the iPhone. Verizon is the largest carrier in the US. They have one of the best networks, probably the best network nationwide. So I think it means quite a lot to consumers, and that has been the number one question I've had from our CNET readers for the past 3 years is when will Verizon get the iPhone? So now it's finally going to be here, and that's going to be a really big deal. Now, for Apple, this means opening up the iPhone to potentially even more people who are going to subscribe to it. So, there is some talk of some of the numbers, some of the people who are going to subscribe to the Verizon iPhone coming from AT&T. But at the same time, if you look at the market, it's still about 40% smartphone, 60% regular phone. So there's a lot of demand, and people are upgrading to smartphones. So this could just mean another untapped market yet for the iPhone.
Will the iPhone really be better on Verizon?
Well, I think that's the big question mark, whether or not the iPhone really will be better on Verizon's network. And I've talked to the CTO of Verizon Wireless. He says absolutely their network is ready for the iPhone and any other kind of phone that could be introduced this year or in the future. But I think realistically, if we really see a surge of people flooding the Verizon network, people might want to be concerned. I've heard anecdotally, I don't have any numbers to really back this up, but just anecdotally, some people have told me in San Francisco and in New York that their Android phones have not gotten the same kind of service quality that they've been used to on AT&T, or I'm sorry, on Verizon. These are long-term Verizon customers. So I think that there's cause for concern. Now, on the other side of it, Verizon has had 3.5 years to invest in its network, and it's done so. It also has a new 4G network that it's launched, that some of these new customers who are going to be getting the advanced phones coming up, those customers in large cities in particular are not going to be on the same 3G network. They'll be on a 4G network. So that might free up a little room for all these new iPhone users if in fact this phone is a 3G phone and not a 4G phone. So I think there's some room to be concerned. And if I were a customer, which I am, I'm a consumer, I have an iPhone, I think I'm going to wait a little while just to see what everybody says before I jump ship. The new 4G phones are really pretty cool. They're doing some really cool things. They have faster processors, better graphics, the work. So in terms of smartphones, these are going to be some of the top smartphones that Verizon's going to offer in the next year. So that's number one. The other thing is that the 4G network is much faster. You'll be able to access web-enabled apps a lot more quickly. You'll be able to surf the internet a lot more quickly. That's actually been one of the biggest complaints I've had on any smartphone I've used, is that generally I think the 3G networks are pretty sluggish and slow. So if I'm trying to navigate or I'm trying to get to a website, sometimes you have to wait a little while. And that's, with a 4G network, it should be like being on your computer on a broadband network. You're going to be getting those types of speeds. Now the downside is that these phones have faster processors, they've got multiple radios in them, so that could mean that they're going to drain battery life a bit more. Plus, people who are on a faster network are likely going to be using it more. So again, that will factor into how long your battery life lasts. And for some people, it just may be a deal breaker for them. You'll at least have to charge it every day, and it could potentially be worse than your 3G smartphone. Although Verizon claims that they've got it all under control, and it should meet consumer expectation in terms of battery use, but it's yet to be seen because we haven't actually seen these phones out in the wild.
Now, whether the iPhone from Verizon will be on their 4G network, we don't really know.
We don't know yet. They're making the announcement tomorrow. They haven't even said for sure that the announcement on Tuesday is going to be the iPhone. So my guess is that it won't be a 4G phone. And the reason why is if you go back to 2007 when the first iPhone was released, 3G phones were already out in the market, and yet Apple decided to make the iPhone a 2.5G phone to use the Edge network that AT&T had, and they waited a whole year to introduce a 3G phone. So if you look at what Apple has done historically, they're a little bit conservative in terms of the technologies they use, and I think that they'll probably go with something that's tried and true and tested, and we could look for possibly a 4G iPhone maybe later this year, maybe next year. It's hard to say.